everyone, today's lesson is about hue contrast. Before understanding hue contrast, let's first look at a definition of color contrast. Color contrast is the visual difference in the composition's area proportion, shape, position, hue, brightness, and purity. The greater the contrast, the more obvious the contrast effect. Conversely, the effect will be diminished. There are 5 types of color contrast: hue contrast, brightness contrast, purity contrast, temperature contrast, and area contrast. So what is hue contrast? Hue contrast refers to the color contrast formed by the difference in hue. Although hue contrast is resulting from the difference in the length of visible light waves, it cannot be determined solely based on that, but should be by the means of hue circle. The intensity of hue contrast depends on the distance between colors on the hue circle. For the following 5 pairs of colors, it is clear that the visual difference between the first and the third is particularly strong. Based on the distance between colors on the hue circle, we divide hue contrast into 4 types. First, analogous colors. Second, adjacent colors. Third, contrasting colors. 4, complementary colors. Now, let's delve into each of them. The first type is the hue contrast of analogous colors. Hues of these colors have no difference. They are usually within 30 degrees of each other on the hue circle. Due to the short distance between them, the colors have similar properties with weak differences and a relatively unified visual effect. These colors are somewhat blurry and difficult to distinguish. They exhibit subtle variations in hue within unity, but can appear monotonous, so it is the weakest contrast among all types of hue contrast. We can choose one color and then find color within 30 degrees clockwise or counterclockwise for comparison. Since the hue difference in these colors is small, we can adjust their brightness or purity to enhance the contrast. For example, in the color scheme of this interior space, the colors chosen are yellow, green, and green from the hue circle, creating a harmonious and unified overlook, yet with subtle color variations. The following 2 pictures about an interior space and a model's costume matching. Colors of both pictures are adjusted in purity. The second type is the hue contrast of adjacent colors. It refers to colors that are about 60 degrees apart on the hue circle. Due to the hues of these colors are richer compared to those of analogous colors, they can compensate for the shortcomings of the contrast of analogous colors, maintaining contrast within unity, yet they still show a weak contrast. Similarly, we can choose a color on the hue circle and then find a color about 60 degrees apart from it and match them. The examples shown present the contrast of adjacent colors, like the 2 paintings we see here. Van Gogh's Sunflowers and a watercolor painting. They utilize adjacent colors of yellow and green, albeit each with different color proportions. In the interior decoration, we see examples like the left image using yellow and green for the contrast of adjacent colors, while the right one uses orange, yellow, and red. They both embody a lively and moderate spatial contrast within unity. The third type is the contrast of contrasting colors. It refers to colors that are about 120 degrees apart on the hue circle. The difference of contrasting colors in hue is sharp, since they don't share a same hue. And thus the contrast is intense and can appear chaotic, not easy to produce a sense of unity. Generally, we can change the brightness and purity of the colors, or strengthen the dominant tone and adjust the area and proportion for color harmony. Such a pair of colors shows strong contrast. When we match colors, primary colors like red, yellow, and blue exhibit strong contrast, while secondary colors like orange and green present a natural beauty. Contrasting colors of red and blue are used in the following two assignments, with a strong and eye-catching visual effect. Similarly, Japanese artist Yeo Kusama also likes to use this type of bold and exaggerated color contrast in her works. The two pictures we see, an illustration and a painting of indoor flowers, use red-blue contrast with black and white to harmonize the colors, showing a vibrant yet dynamic contrast. In the interior design, like the left one in the rural style of Western United States, it utilizes a red-blue contrast, whereas the design of the public space on the right employs a contrast between orange and reddish purple, creating a lively and bright color relationship. The fourth type is the contrast of complementary colors. It refers to colors that are 180 degrees apart on the hue circle. Complementary colors are more complete and stimulating compared to contrasting colors, often evoking a rustic feel and are used frequently in the folk art. This type is the strongest one among all types of hue contrast. In these contrasting relationships, the brightness contrast between yellow and purple is strong, and the hues are most disparate. The contrast between blue and orange is the most active and vivid one because the brightness contrast between them is moderate. The contrast between red and green is considered the most aesthetically pleasing one due to their similar brightness and moderate temperature contrast. The following two pictures are segments of the contrast of complementary colors. In interior spatial design, the left image features a color scheme for a children's living space using red and green to display children's liveliness and innocence. The living room on the right uses orange, yellow, and blue in combination. The contrast in the area proportion of each color's hue is significant, and the blue as the bright color creates the tranquility of the space. Additionally, the use of its complementary color, orange-yellow, adds a lively touch within the calm ambience. So, these are the four types of contrast. What considerations should we keep in mind in our practical applications? In the hue contrast, the prime hue of the image should be determined first. Then it must be clear what kind of color relationship is between the auxiliary color and the prime hue. Only then can we achieve the planned, purposeful, and clear tonality of the composition, thereby improving our skills of color matching. While there's a saying in the folk wisdom, in our practical applications, we can achieve color harmony by adjusting the area proportion of colors. Next, we will complete exercise on matching hues for the hue contrast, which is divided into two steps. Step 1. Use color software to complete 4 sets of hue contrast. Step 2. Select one set of colors from Step 1, and then use home decorating software to complete color matching of interior space. Let's begin. Here's an example of Step 1. You can select a suitable pattern in the coloring software. And then, based on the 4 types of contrast discussed earlier, practice how to use hue contrast. Now, here's an example of step 2. In this example, we use home decorating software to complete a color scheme for interior decoration. However, it's important to note that we should appropriately adjust the brightness, purity, and area proportion of colors to achieve a comfortable and harmonious feelings of colors. Alright, our lesson has come to the end. By learning about hue contrast and practicing exercise, I hope you will grasp the art of hue contrast in interior spatial design.